Wonderful audience from all around the world. Good morning from the heart of Colombia here in Bogotá City. We are live at the 2025 International Conference on Family Planning, ICFP 2025. My name is Esenam Amuzu and this is the Frontline Report. We are keeping up with our community here as the conference goes on, telling the stories right from the sessions to everyone that matters from the community. Who are our audience and who are we listening to? Our community reporters have been going around, they are telling the stories, and that is what the Frontline Report is talking about. And so to set the stage going, my colleague, a community reporter, Jandi, has been going around getting scenes from the sessions from yesterday's opening out onto what's been happening. Let's get a view of what's been going on from the community. Also, I have with me my colleague Jibuke, whom I'll be discussing and having a wonderful interview with, talking about community reporting and solutions journalism. Now, let's watch our video on the highlights from yesterday. Happening from the front lines. Chibuke, good morning.
Good morning, Esenam.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's Frontline Report.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be talking a lot and we'll be reporting a lot from the front lines, as we are saying, and this is the heart of the community reporting here at ICFP 2025. But first, someone would wonder, what does it mean to report from the front lines? We often hear that in news reporters, we are reporting from the front lines. What does it really mean to report from the front lines?
Thank you so much for the question, and thanks to your beautiful audience, for those here in Bogotá and those watching from different parts of the world. Frontline, essentially, it simply means reporting from where it is happening, right? Where the activity is happening. I think it's also used in the military. So you see someone, you know, the soldiers, they are at the front line. So where, I mean, in this case, it's all positive here. So we don't want to talk about use some terms, but essentially where the activity is happening, what's happening. So in the context of the conversation we are having, if you know, SRHR, family planning, where need it most, the communities, the women in primary health centers, you know, all of those conversations. So it's easy, you not just staying in your office in the city and have those conversations, you know, or think this is what they need, but going where they are, hearing from them directly. That's the front line. And also the video highlight you shared. So as far as this conversation is concerned, this is the front line as far as, you know, this important global convening. So this is the front line for all the researchers, advocates, policymakers who work in the SR and family planning space. So yeah, this is our front line for the next 4 days.
Thank you. We definitely don't want any issue getting missing, right? We want to get all the issues. Now, as someone who has worked within or keeps working in the journalism field, a concept that is coming up and a lot of people are embracing is the concept of solutions journalism. What is solutions journalism, and why should community reporters like ourselves, who want to give voice to every community, everyone right to the grassroots, should be looking up at this concept?
Thank you. So in a nutshell, solution journalism simply means being deliberate about reporting what's working, storytelling that goes beyond the headlines, and also the issues, really, because, by default, if you look at the media landscape, there are so many issues out there, from wars to economic issues and, politics and all of that. So if you're just going with the flow, you see yourself reporting these things and you don't take that deliberate effort or being intentional about asking what's working, right? So that's essentially what solution storytelling is, or solution journalism. Asking, how are people solving these problems? What are people doing to address this problem that we keep talking about? So it takes away that it's a shift from reporting issues all the time to asking, what's working, what can we learn from this? So imagine two people are having the same problem, or two communities, or two cities, or two countries. So if you are reporting what this other community is doing, there's possibility that the other community will learn from it and try and replicate or adapt it to their own context to address their own issue. And it's important for frontline reporters to take it as one of their strategies. Of course, it's one tool out of many. It's not the only way to do it, right? It's like a tool in your toolbox. It doesn't mean the other forms of storytelling are not important. Of course, they are all very important and valid. But why it's important is why frontline workers need to adopt that strategy is it helps surface what's happening at the community level, right? So we don't think, oh, it's just issues all the time. And it also helps with accountability, right? So remember the example I gave. If two communities are having the same issue, if you're reporting this story, you can use it to ask the other people questions. Let's say it's their leaders or their community heads or the policymakers, and they are giving excuses. So by frontline reporters showing what's working in other communities, it's now possible to say, look, what's going on here? Why can't we learn from what these other guys are doing to try and solve this problem? So it's a very useful tool.
Thank you so much, and we hope to continue our reportage from that lens, a lens that brings solutions to our community issues. Now, before we go, a last one. For us as media folks, as people who believe in the power of using media either for advocacy, either for storytelling, either for accountability of our leaders and all of that, how would you say we can use media to promote equity in action, as the theme for this year's ICFP is looking at achieving equity through action?
Thank you. So again, back to the question you asked earlier, of course, the media is a very powerful tool. Coming from an advocacy and communication background, it's a very useful tool for the work that we do, because with it, you can surface conversations, you can amplify conversations. So something that wouldn't reach. So for example, we're here having a conversation in Bogotá, but we're able to reach, millions of people all over the world as far as they, tune into the ICFP live stage platform on YouTube or wherever this is being streamed. So that's the power that can be used for good, but also, for negative. But in this case, how do we use it to center equity? How do we use it to promote it? So it's essentially, again, back to solution journalism, finding out what's working, finding out what equity means, and using it to amplify that. So it goes both ways. You use it to find best practices. So if you see what's working somewhere, so for example, a colleague in the room a couple of days ago said they were interested in how do we make sure that women with disabilities are able to access family planning services, right? So, I mean, those conversations can happen in small rooms, but imagine a journalist gets hold of that. They see what's working, they're able to take it outside that room to say, look, this is what is working here. This is how women with disabilities are able to access care. This is the system they put in place. This is the structure, or these are the structures that they put in place. So why can't we replicate it? So that's, using it to amplify what's working, but also using it to surface what's not working. Because if you now go and see this is not working, you don't end it there. Again, from the front lines, you're able to take it out and say, look, this is what's happening here. Why are we not investing more money into making sure that people have equitable access to healthcare and family planning and sexual and reproductive health services? So it's essentially using it as a tool to push so that people will act. So at the end of the day, we see equity in action.
Thank you so much. I like that last sentence that said using it to push so that people would act equity in action. But a very last one, as a health reporter, how can journalists get interest and push for reproductive health stories to be at the headlines, to be at the front lines of their reporting? Very often we see that health news is beating is competing with other beats, right? But we want to push. What one key strategy would you give for any journalist or reporter who has to compete with other news in the newsroom to make sure that reproductive health news can lead and can become a beat in the newsroom?
I think one strategy that comes to mind is sort of giving the power back to the people. So yes, in your newsroom, you can, set the agenda and think you know what people want, right? But I mean, with social media these days, it's easy to crowdsource. It's easy to get user-generated content. So why I say giving the power to the people, you can now open up the question, right? Find out what people really need. So you're not thinking for them. You are not assuming this is what they want. So if you put out those information out there, I mean, social media is a very useful tool. Do open conversations. There have been instances where people crowdsourced topics or things to discuss based on what the community wanted. Again, back to where the conversation started, the front lines. So that's a very useful tool. You are asking people what they want, and you are now amplifying that, because in your small newsroom, maybe 50 persons or so are working there. Yes, you're making your efforts, you're leveraging your platforms to amplify, but imagine you're able to get the citizens involved. That's active citizenship. So it's a very useful way to, and again, get the people who are supposed to act uncomfortable because everybody is talking about it.
Thank you very much. This has been Chibuike Alagbaso, and he is a program officer with the Nigerian Health Watch. Thank you so much. This has been the Frontline Report, brought to you from the ICFP live stage here in Bogotá, Colombia. Join us same time tomorrow for more news from the community as the conference happens. Thank you.
Thank you.